happy to be here this morning with my colleague, Assemblyman Ken Zebrowski, and with Mr. Jeff Shearer, a local West Nyack resident who was the victim of a scam that targeted him, and unfortunately that TD Bank right here was an abettor of and has refused to make good on. So we're going to be hearing a little bit first from Mr. Shearer about what exactly happened to him, and then the Assemblyman and I are going to share our thoughts on what we believe TD Bank needs to do to make this situation right. So, Mr. Shearer, would you like to tell us a little bit about what happened to you?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, sir. I want to thank everyone for supporting me in this effort. A scammer contacted me telling me that I had accidentally requested their computer to return $35,000 to me, and that was the beginning of the scam, and that if I did not return the money to them, I would be accused of embezzlement. So the scammer had gained control of my computer and showed me in a fake counterfeit screen that they had actually deposited that amount of money into my account. They sent me instructions to wire transfer the return of that money to their company. And I went and took that wire transfer instruction sheet to TD Bank at the Nanuet branch. And thus the wire transfer took place without any due diligence or questioning about why I was sending that money, other than the fact that I was sending to help a sick relative in Peru, like I had a relative in Peru. Well, regardless, there was no other due diligence that was done about this money that was being transferred, and I was victimized. And thank God everyone is here helping me do the right thing with TD Bank. Folks, gentlemen, thank you so much, and the staff at Channel 12 for doing this, and hopefully we will prevent this from happening too often again. Thank you, folks.
Thank you. So, Mr. Shearer, I appreciate you sharing your story with us, because what happened to Jeff has happened to many other residents of Rockland, Westchester, and New York State today, this year, and ongoing. Anybody could fall victim to one of these scams, and the question is not it's not what happens then, it's what are we going to do about it, and what is the bank going to do about it? And so TD Bank's corporate strategy, as they claim, is to take a proven business model, be forward-focused and purpose-driven. They pride themselves, they say, on thinking like a customer, acting like an owner, executing with speed and impact, innovating with purpose, and developing with their colleagues. Unfortunately, we are here today because TD Bank has chosen to think like a shareholder, act like a greedy corporation, and protect their bottom line instead of protecting one of their customers. Jeff Shearer has been a loyal customer, banking at TD Bank for the better part of a decade. He may not be wealthy, but he has kept a not insignificant sum of money in this bank where he imagined it would be kept safe and where he would be treated fairly. After all, TD Bank's slogan is "Be the Better Bank." No one wants to be here today. I do not, the Assemblyman does not, I'm sure Mr. Shearer does not. We don't want to be here standing on the side of a road talking about the misfortune that befell him. And yet he has been the victim of a scam targeted specifically at vulnerable people, especially at senior citizens like Mr. Shearer. A common saying these days is that the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men and women should do nothing. Today we are here because evil actors scammed Mr. Shearer out of his life savings. When he went to the bank to authorize the wire transfer, the bank did nothing to stop him. They didn't flag that a senior citizen in Rockland County was emptying his bank account to wire funds to Peru. They didn't alert him as to what the starting and the ending balance would be before and after the transfer, even understanding that he would be nearly depleted in his account after this took place. So Assemblyman Zebrowski and I have been pressuring the leadership of TD Bank for months to take action and make Mr. Shearer whole. If we are not advocating for him, who will? TD Bank is fully insured. They could easily replace the funds that they so quickly sent away for Mr. Shearer's account. Instead, they are more focused on protecting their bottom line than protecting the financial security of their customers. And Mr. Shearer was a victim of fraud. So it's simply time that TD Bank do the right thing. Stand up, be a good corporate citizen, and make Mr. Shearer whole. If they don't do that, I will strongly consider moving my campaign account out of TD Bank because I have lost confidence in their ability to advocate for and protect their customers. If they're not willing to protect the investments that people entrust with them, what good are they as a bank? So I call on TD Bank to do the right thing, to refund Mr. Shearer's money, be a good corporate citizen. Otherwise, the 325,000 constituents that I represent will know clearly and definitively that TD Bank can't be trusted with their money. It's time. TD Bank, please step up, do the right thing, and make this man whole.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My gosh.
Thanks, Senator. Thanks, Mr. Scher. I'll just add a couple things. I wonder how many times a senior citizen here in Rockland County walks into their local bank and attempts to empty their bank account to send it to a foreign country. I would venture to say virtually never. And if it ever does happen, the likelihood of it being a scam is astronomical. So what would we ask that a bank like TD Bank do? We ask that they train their bank tellers like any other business here on Main Street. Whatever business you're in, there's a gym across the street, a CVS, I'm sure their employees are trained in different ways based upon their product. Well, here, a bank is entrusted with people's life savings. And I don't think it's too much for us to ask that if a senior citizen walks in and attempts to empty out $35,000 to send to Peru, that somebody should say, are you sure you want to do that? Do you have a relative in Peru? Is there a reason you're doing that? And just that simple question could have saved us from where we are today, could have saved Mr. Scher from going through this tragic situation. So in our research, in dealing with TD Bank, we've asked them to investigate. I don't think there's any other conclusion that they could come to other than either A, their training practices aren't sufficient, or B, that the person, the teller, didn't do what they were trained to do. And in either of those scenarios, TD Bank's at fault, and they should return the money to Mr. Scher. We're calling on them once again to do that. And if not, everybody who sees this press conference should know that if they're banking under TD Bank, that this is possibly a risk and that this is how they're going to conduct their business. Thank you.